Hey, welcome back. It's season 3 of Garage Monologues. My name is Jay Swanson, and you've probably been listening for a while if you haven't already. If you're hearing this or seeing it, it means that you're on the public feed, which means that this episode came out about 6 months ago for my patrons. And if you'd like to get on top of that, if you'd like to see these episodes as they come out, support the show, help me to keep it going, because, you know, it's everything's up in the air this year. There are a lot of big changes coming, but let me know over on patreon.com/JSwanson. You can support the show. You can listen to all the episodes from this season right now. You don't have to wait, or you can continue listening to them as they drop every other week for the next 5 or 6 months. It's the season of becoming French, and there's a lot of cheese that gets eaten in this season. I hope you enjoy it.
And we could have also used our DJI mic also.
Yeah, I can use that as well, but the quality is
better.
Yeah, it sounds much nicer. That one's already really melted. That's why it came in plastic.
All right.
Yeah, it looks really good.
I think I didn't have lunch.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Welcome to, I think this is, I don't know what episode this is, 4 or 5 of season 3. Puxan's back. First public episode has him in it, and now he's back a year later.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the couch of my therapist here.
Well, we're here to talk about whatever you need to. This is
cheese therapy.
Space. We are on the road to citizenship as far as the cheese goes. We're in round 3 of the cheese. We have a dozen cheeses. This one is the middle ground for price. The first time around, it cost me just over $100.
Yeah, but you also bought way too much cheese.
Well, that's the thing. This time it kind of came in the same way because the second time, I put Emily in charge of it just in hopes that she would be better at, like, I realized I could have asked for less, but also it was just like a last minute thing. So thanks to Emily for helping again. So she got it down to like $30 last time, but it was all really standard, mostly cow cheese.
Yeah.
And then this time we're at about $70. And this time it's because there are a bunch of these that came in huge portions.
Bread included?
The bread was €1.50, so that's for a tradition, and which is actually a hike in price, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean prices have been going up. Don't get me started.
Prices are going up. I'm gonna get you started. So we've got some pickles, got a whole bunch of different cheeses, and yeah, today one of the things I thought we'd talk about because I do need to get into some app stuff. Just to kind of cover, there's a lot going on, and it's really exciting. So definitely want to talk about that. But with Puxan specifically, I want to talk both in how he's hopefully going to be a part of that a little bit, and also how he was going to be a part of what was going to be the road to citizenship a little bit. We were going to travel around the country and make a series of videos this year as I get ready to become French. In exploring France and what that meant to me to become French and all of that, with his insight as well, having grown up here, having a lot of different experiences here and his own insights. And then we ended up binning it, but for a number of reasons, and I think it was a good choice, but kind of sad that we went from road tripping around France to letting France bring its cheese to us.
Yeah, not a bad alternative, but yeah, the first project seemed really good, but it also was too big, I think, for now. But
yeah, a little bit ambitious.
Maybe for another day. Dates.
Maybe. We'll see. Actually, I still dream of getting a car and road tripping around the country. So hopefully that's happens.
That's still gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what Cooper's whole purpose is for. He's a road tripping buddy.
That's right.
That's what he's here for. But we can also jump into these cheeses right off the start. The way I've been doing this is just a chunk at a time. Here? So the first, we have a whole bunch of stuff. This one actually looks like a German name, but Cœur de Neufchâtel. It's not. It's French.
Neufchâtel.
So that's Neufchâtel. Then we have Saint-Marcellin.
Nice.
Tome de Savoie, Comté,
my favorite.
12 mois, so it's not super old, but yeah, I have big chunks in honor of Poonam as well. She's not here.
Cheaped out on the 12 months.
I know, right? Banon Fermier. I put it on a fig leaf here because I think that's a fig leaf, isn't it?
It's a leaf.
It's a leaf of some sort. It was wrapped in them. It was very classy.
Oh, I thought you were forging that up.
No, they came wrapped in them. Yeah, I just went out and found that in my fig garden. The Banon Fermier, and then we have the Brie de Meaux, which came in it came in a long tranche, like a long slice. And I was like, I've never seen it come like this. And then I opened it, I was like, oh, that's because it came from a massive wheel of cheese.
Yeah.
It was just huge.
Cool.
So that'll be really good. I was like, Brie de Meaux. I was like, I've never seen it come in something that wasn't round. That was weird. Then we have Bleu de Causse, Crottin de Chavignol, Saint-Félicien. There was a Pyramide de Moreau, and on it he wrote Valençay. So I don't know, it said Valençay written on it, but the way that it was described here is Pyramide Moreau, and because it was in a pyramid, that's how I knew what it was.
Okay, goat cheese?
Yeah, it looks like ash on the outside. And then Roquefort, So Roquefort Carle, and then Salaire Vieux Tonnelle. Do you know what that one is?
Yeah, we got a few classics here today.
I'm excited to take. I want to hear your take on this.
I haven't tried this one.
That one looks really good. It came in a massive square.
Okay.
So if you like it, I will send you home with a big chunk of it.
That's the only reason why I'm here.
It's so good. It smells really good.
No, I mean you got some of the heavy hitters here.
We got some really heavy hitters. Yeah,
came on a good day.
I feel like we've already done one or two of these, but maybe in just different styles because these are all protected. Like what's the AOC? The origine.
Appellation d'origine
Appellation
contrôlée.
Yeah. So they're all at like a protected level or another. There are a couple different ones. But that doesn't mean that there isn't some crossover. So there might be two different types of brie or two different like Comté. I feel like we already did Comté, but whatever. I'm not going to complain if I have to eat Comté twice.
You can always I have Comté at my house every single day.
It's so good.
Just in case.
It's just a really good cheese.
It's amazing.
So that is the list of cheeses that we're going to get into today, and you'll get to enjoy listening to us if you're not watching this on YouTube. I did just load this into YouTube podcasts as well, so if you like to listen on YouTube Music or have that option to watch them. I can't get video podcasts working on Spotify, unfortunately, because you have to be in like the States, I think. There's like 4 countries where it's available, and you might have to be exclusive, or it's like an exclusive feature to Spotify, so...
I didn't even know they had that yet.
They do have video podcasts now, which is just basically YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, to be straight up about it. So why don't we just dive into this actually? And then I thought we would talk in a little bit about road tripping around France. Have you been to have you tried all of these cheeses except for this one?
I don't think I've tried this one.
Okay.
This is a variation, I think.
Yeah.
The bleu. I think the rest I've tried most of them.
Yeah, I feel like I've had all of these.
Maybe not this one exactly.
I don't think I've had Valençay.
Something that looked like that for sure.
Or whatever that is, a Pyrénées Moreau. I don't know what to call that, honestly. That was confusing. I wrote the extra name down here because it was... Anyways, let's get started. We're just going to jump in and try it and tell you what it's like as we eat it. This one's not very well separated.
We have a knife.
Yep.
Okay.
I tried to pre-separate everything, but boop. And I toasted the cheese. Or not the cheese. The
cheese.
bread. Toasted the bread lightly.
Okay.
Just for the experience.
Right,
But
so-
these ones are untoasted if you don't want toasted bread.
So are you going to...
So we're going to go through this in
Okay.
order.
All right. Well, so what
And
are
we'll
we
do
eating?
them like 4 or 5 at a time.
Okay.
So go for it. Cheers. I think we did Châtel last time. I don't know what the difference between that and Neufchâtel is. I wish I had a strong enough memory of what the Châtel was like.
This has got a strong flavor.
It's got really strong. It actually tastes almost like a blue.
Is there a particular order to these? Or are we...
I'm just eating them in the order that I got them
You bought
listed.
them.
So
Okay. Because we're going to go from strong to light to back to strong.
We are.
It's going to be like a roller coaster.
We are on a roller coaster. And the blues look like they're next to each other, but they're not. There's a separation.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely had this before. Creamy, strong, an acquired taste, I would say maybe.
Yeah, it's very aromatic and not a beginner cheese.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of astringency.
Ooh, good word.
I'm not a cheese expert. But
Neither am I. We were trying to avoid the word tangy too much, but tangy is a word that ends up. This would be a tangy cheese for sure.
I'm trying to think of a cheese that is not tangy. No, that was really good. Yeah, it was a good start.
Comté is not tangy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a start. All right. All right. Let's get this messy one here. For those of you that are listening, I mean, this is going to come out like the same day that we're recording this for my patrons, and we're going to be asking patrons who are interested in joining us for beta testing for the app to basically apply for it, because we're just going to try and find about 10 people to help us get started with that. So I don't have exact details on that yet, but keep your eyes peeled. We'll talk about that a little bit more as this goes on. So this one is the Saint-Marcellin. What are your impressions?
Yeah, I got ahead of you there and already ate it.
Great.
Smoother, softer. It's great. Great winter cheese. I mean, it is getting warmer again. Spring is around the corner, but yeah, it's one of the classics for me as well.
Yeah?
I
That was
don't
creamy.
buy it often, but it's it's often there, people's houses. My sister, I think she can eat like a whole one of these.
I could do a whole one. It came in a really small little wheel.
It's go really good with some wine.
What you saw there was an exact, slice from the wheel, so that'd be really good with wine. And that would spread really well too. Like that would be a good one to have like a fig comté or something, or fig jam, like a compote.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this is also like trying different cheeses with different breads. Also, that's also really nice.
Oh, that'd be good.
And obviously, if you want to take it up, a
I was gonna say I did not go that far.
with the wine. No. This is for another.
The wine would be good, but so I do have a wine that we would have drank, except I think we both don't want to drink this afternoon.
That's a bit early on a Wednesday.
A little bit, but it's a Thursday. Don't even know what day it is. So, but it's called melting pot.
Melting pot.
Melting pot.
Okay.
Which is a very French franglais play on words.
Yeah.
Pot is buddies in French, and melting, obviously. So it looks like melting pot, but melting pot, like bringing friends together. Anyways, I thought it was fun.
Or melting your friends.
I have no idea what it is. Or melting your melting pot. So this one...
We're getting into the harder cheese here.
Well, this is the Tom de Savoie, which is actually softer as far as Tom goes. I know we already did a harder Tom. That's a nice gentle cleanser right there.
Yeah, it's like a little interlude. I mean, Savoie has some amazing cheeses, and Tom de Savoie is also... Yeah, today is, as I said, a lot of heavy hitters.
That's a lot of good cheese.
Yeah.
That's a really good cheese. Also really creamy. Tom is one of my favorites because it does span... It's like if you're not... So Tom is a very good beginner cheese because it's not going to be super strong. It's got a really nice soft flavor usually, and it can come in a harder form. Like this is softer, but it's still kind of a hard cheese. And anytime I see Tom as an option, I go for it because it's always a winner. I feel like there's and it's one that you don't like. Comté is always there. Tom's not always there. So when it is there, it's like it's a good option. It's still very it's still very readily available, but that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, what's your? I mean, let's take Comté aside because I feel like that's a fan
good
favorite.
go-to. Yeah.
What are your favorite cheeses to buy usually, just for your consumption?
Yeah, Tom is up there. Obviously, like Brie, which is why this Brie de Meaux is blowing my mind. The way that it came is a good, pretty standard one, especially for a picnic. Like you want to bring one that people can dip into. It's really good.
It's going to be picnic season soon, hopefully.
It is coming up, yeah. Why? What's aside from having Comté around on hand all the time, and Puxan's mom, I always, for any holiday, that's what I try to bring is like the oldest Comté I can find.
Yeah, which is the next one we're eating. And usually here you can find 24 months, and I've had 48 months once, which is exceptional. I think you can have even older.
36 is usually where you start getting the good crystals in it. So
sometimes at 24 you get them as well.
There's none in this.
This is 12?
This is 12. The older it gets, the more crystallized it gets, and the crystals are actually like I think we've talked about this before, but it's like a lactic crystallization, right? It tastes kind of like salt, feels like salt, but like it's not. I always thought it was salt until somebody explained this to me, and it's delicious. It's where it's at. Mm-hmm. This is good though too. This is also really soft for a Comté.
Yeah, I feel like it's been out for a while as well. Mm-hmm. That's why usually like refrigerating them so you get that nice crisp flavor, texture. My favorites, Comté is definitely up there. I like Brie, Saint-Marcelin. I like a lot. I like Bleu as well. When I'm in the mood for it, not every day. I like Chèvre a lot. Mm-hmm. Tom de Brebis from the Basque Country is like
hometown classic.
One of my favorites. I like also I like fresh cheese as well, like the kind of like a ricotta style as well. But if we're looking at the French ones, those are.
I'm looking forward to getting on these blues because blue cheese is something that it's an acquired taste as well, but it took me a while. It's one of those ones where I feel like the philosophy that I have generally with food has been to give everything as many tries as it takes to get to at least appreciate it if I don't like it. But blue went from being like something I could appreciate to recently I feel like being something that I really like. And so like every time I got a little sample of this when I was cutting it earlier, I was trying not to taste things early, but these are really good.
Because you got a lot of different flavors in those. Are we going to go for that, or are we saving?
I think we can pause for a second. Yeah. What I wanted to ask you actually was for you, because you have a complex relationship with your sense of nationality and so forth because you're I don't even know if we can call you a third culture kid. I feel like you're a fourth culture kid.
I hate those terms.
Okay.
Anyway, don't call me that.
You're a human being.
Yes, thank you.
So, but I just think that it's a way of trying to describe a complex relationship that somebody has that I think the average person doesn't understand. Right, like that's where that comes from. It's not trying to label you so much as it's just trying to help bridge that gap of like, especially when I was like serving on the ship, and now that I've lived abroad just for a long time, you run into more and more people who, when growing up in the same place, like I grew up in one place, didn't leave, same people, and then finally left. And having done so, you don't really have a way to relate so easily to people who don't have the same strong sense of belonging to a place. Beginning there, even if I wanted to leave and get out of there as badly, I still felt like that's where I was from.
Yeah.
For you then, because you were born in France and have spent obviously a huge chunk of your life in France, if not the majority of it. What is it to you? What does it mean to be French? And what is its importance to you, or does it have any importance to you?
I mean, yeah, it is the place that I've lived the longest. What does it mean to be French? I think, that's a tough question. I wish I would have prepared for this.
On the spot.
Being French, I think there's so many different regions and so many different ways of answering that. I feel like a lot of people who come to Paris and just see Paris as representative as France, they're missing out on a lot of the countryside culture.
Yeah.
For me, I do like Paris and I like what it offers in terms of culture and everything. But going back to the South for me is always like where I feel the most comfortable. And I don't know, because for me it's I grew up in France, but it has another culture there. It's the Basque Country, so every region in France though will have their own culture. So you have the kind of the national culture and the regional aspects as well. For me, I don't know if I can answer what it means to be French because I have so many other things that come together. So I'm never just French.
Sure.
And maybe it's when I travel that I feel more French because then I miss certain aspects like, the food, the wine, the bread, the cheese.
The impossible.
Yeah, le dépaysement. Which is one of the words that doesn't exist in other languages. Mm-hmm. It's like a top 5 words that don't exist in.
Can you try to translate it for our audience?
I think it's the longing. No. Dépaysement means when you are when everything you think you know about a country. I was gonna say it in French.
If you want to say it in French first, then we can translate it in English.
Dépaysement is like when you're completely away from everything, all your points of references, I feel, in your country, which for France would be, if a French person goes to Japan and, I hope this is right, because last time I went, it was right, and you don't see many signs that are not in Japanese.
Yeah.
And, you don't have any points of references that you can, feel comfortable with or that you have in common. So that's like you're thrown completely off all your axes.
It's kind of like feeling unanchored.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm curious also for that as far as like, because I will never, in the way that like our French friends who live here have always lived here, or maybe, were raised like monocultural the same way that I was monoculturally raised American. Like I will never share that same base. You have way more cultural references and way more touch points than I do here.
But neither do I though. Like I don't feel like, a lot of French families on Sundays will have the family meals and everything, and they'll go to have, they'll have the grandparents, the uncles, and they'll have a huge table. Meal will start, at 12, but then they won't start eating till like 1:30, and then they'll, there'll be the appetizers, the main dishes, so many different dishes coming out, and you're kind of just spending the whole afternoon there, having some wine, maybe dessert, then cheese, and it's kind of a moment where everyone catches up. I don't have that, I grew up as with my Indian upbringing in France here, and a lot of those are fun, but a lot of those I've learned through friends as well. Yeah. So kind of in a similar way to you, coming here and enjoying certain French traditions, I feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel that for me, being French for me is a lot of it boils down to like the culture, the food. Not to be reductive, but it is the main points for me. A sense of exploration. I feel like when I travel abroad, I'll meet a lot of like-minded French people, and that's when I think about it the most. I don't really think about what it means to be French here on a day-to-day basis because most people that we come across in France are French, except for Paris. Paris is very cosmopolitan.
Very mixed, yeah.
But you don't think of that. You don't think of like, oh, what unites us here? Except if it's like during the World Cup or something. There's a huge sense of being French during sporting events, but on a day-to-day basis, you don't really have that. But when I'm abroad, I think, and most of it comes down to like you miss kind of chatting, you miss sitting down. Even if you don't know the person, because most often you're just getting to know them when you're abroad. Like for example, I was in India and I met this French lady at yoga class, and I think we bonded over, first of all, because we're French. I think we wanted to complain about the teacher a bit, which is, I guess you can say that's a very French thing. And we had a coffee, and we just, we like to enjoy those little moments. A coffee with an American would be quicker. We took the time and got to know each other, and there was a lot of French elements to it, which were just kind of enjoying things and not trying to be in a rush. And I find that more abroad personally, but that's just my experience.
I think it feels like it's highlighted by contrast, right? Like I think that for me, I have moments I notice that when I look back and see what the American equivalent would be, or how I would have done things in the past, or how, things that were uncomfortable to me when I got here are now what I'm comfortable with. That's when I see like there's a change. There's like, and it's a slow change. So until you contrast that with where you used to be, or you go back to the States, or you...
Do you have an example of a situation?
Well, I mean, just talking about like Sunday dinners, like I did not know what to do with myself Sunday dinners, or like picnics. French picnics to me were insane, because a French picnic is just sitting on the blanket the whole time. Like, here we are, food, drinks, let's talk. That's it. And in America, it's like, where's the Frisbee? Where's the football? Like, let's play, let's do something. There's always activities around it, So like that kind of stuff, like sitting for 4 hours, just being together.
Well, I think that might be a Paris thing also, because, when...
We don't have space here too.
If you go, like, I'm not to quote where I grew up, all the time, but if you go to the countryside, I'm sure there's going to be some of that stuff. Like,
maybe
some
more so.
Or like, have a ball, kick around a ball, pass the rugby ball.
That's
around.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. I was trying to think, like, because even when I lived in Nice, it was very like sit oriented. But then when we get out to like a place like Grasse where there was space,
right,
then something would happen. Yeah, that would change things. But I think it's that thing where the Sunday dinners though too, like we're literally just going to sit here for 4 hours, like. I love that now, but when I first got to that, I was like, I would get itchy.
And do you have like some reverse culture shocks when you go back to the States? Like, for example, when you see people eating very quickly, like do you think they don't take enough time? Or
sometimes actually I wonder, like, how do people get? I don't understand the lifestyle anymore. Actually, sometimes when I go back to the States, I think it's partially because like I work for myself, so I kind of already set my own schedule.
Yeah, the freelance structure is also
very different.
Very different to start off.
But then it's also that thing of like, like where I feel here, and maybe this is a Paris thing as well, and that is a conflation that I'm always going to make because most of my experience is Parisian. But like here, it's like you get off work, and not always, but when you go to see friends, and like when we hang out with our friends, it always rolls into something else. It's like it's very rare that, maybe this is just our lack of self-control, but it's very rare that it just ends with coffee. Like, oh, well, we can go down over here and grab like a drink, and then let's grab dinner, and like things very easily roll into something. There's a more relaxed sense of time when you're not working, when you're with friends. Even if you're not sitting in one place for 4 hours, your 1 hour coffee can easily take 4 hours, just morphs over time.
Yeah,
and I love that. And I feel like in the States, when I go back, everyone's on a schedule, and
definitely, I noticed that as well.
It's so hard to even find time. The only reason anybody has time for me is because I'm visiting. And if I were to stay there for a month, I wouldn't see them anymore.
No, yeah, you're right. I always have this example in New York. A lot of my friends moved to New York, and I lived there for a while as well. And whenever I'd go there, I'd organize a big dinner for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, not for them, but we'd all get together and eat. And I'd ask them like, "Oh, so how often do you see each other?" It's like, well, not since the last time you came. You know?
Yeah.
But I know that, when I live there for, extended periods of time, then I don't see those same people because you just kind of you're part of the scenery, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Then get used to you being there, but yet you don't see each other.
It's a thing. And I think, I don't know. There's that. There's like I always also, when I go back to the States, I feel the crunch of the expense of everything, where I feel like every business in the States is actively trying to squeeze what little more it can out of you. So whether that's prices increasing or going to subscription models, or like the fact that like cell phones were originally expensive to help pay for the expansion of networks, and then those prices just never came down, like things like that, where you're just like, people are used to this, people are used to these prices. So why would we reduce those prices? And there's a lot of stuff like that where I'm just like, wow, like if I move back to the States, how do you afford to live in America is now my question when I look back at it.
Could you see yourself going back to the States at any time?
I don't think so. No. I know you. Where you have ever since I've known you, you've thought about going back to New York in particular. Is there?
I'm still as confused as ever as to Also, there's a lot of factors that are involved.
That's
coming
huge
into play for where I'm living. But for me it would be. But I don't know if I consider New York to be representative of the U.S.
It's like Paris being
City.
Representative of France.
So it's. I don't think I've ever lived in the U.S. Except when I lived in the suburbs for a while, but I was very young. But as an adult, I haven't lived in outside of big cities in the U.S. So,
would you want to?
Never say never.
Right.
I don't think it's my first choice, but I do have a lot of family there. So, who knows?
This is good. I like this. So let's jump into some cheese, and then we're gonna get.
Imagine what this would cost. How much this would cost in the U.S.
One of these would cost $70 in the U.S.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
that's another thing that I miss. Like honestly, in the States I miss strong flavors. We talk about this all the time. I miss salt. I miss tons of flavor.
Yeah, you like salt.
I love salt, but
too much.
But when you're in the States, I miss this.
Yeah. I was in Asia recently, and we had just one of these cheeses, and I mean, it's incredible. It's like the things you'll do when you're abroad, when you miss certain things that you spend €5 to €8 on here, you will spend $30-40 abroad.
The irony is that in the States,
that's what it means to be French.
That's what it means to be French. In the States, I bought like a truffle. What was it? A truffle. I forget what it was. It was something. It was an amazing cheese that it might have been a truffle comté or something, but like something really, really good that I saw. And I met this French guy at a market who's selling French cheese. It cost me like 8 times what it would cost here. And I was like, no, but I'm doing this to introduce my family. For one, my family didn't even appreciate it really. They're like, yeah, it's okay. I was like, what? And then for two, the opposite is here. I'm spending $8 for a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. It's like the inversion of roles and like quality there is not lost on me. Like the irony is not lost on me.
Which are very rare to find.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You have to go to the American snack shops and they are really marked up. So we're going for the Banon Fermier, is this guy here.
On the fig.
On the fig leaf. It's a very soft cheese. I just left the fig leaf for presentation. Soft, but it's not melting quite like the other ones.
I really enjoyed the texture of this one, the creaminess as well. I would say it's a softer. It's soft on the palate as well.
Good beginner soft cheese.
Oh, great cheese. It's got some depth to it as well.
Yeah, I never know. This is why I got to go get an education so I can properly describe what I'm experiencing. But there's like that almost metallic kind of acidity that like initially started and disappeared, and then all of a sudden just kind of like coated my tongue in a way that was really pleasant. And depth is the right word for it. Like there was a richness to it that's very subtle, but really present.
That's very good. And where's this from, you said?
There's Banon. What is it? Banon Fermier. I don't know where it's from.
Okay.
I've never heard of Banon before.
I've had this cheese before or something very similar.
Yeah.
But I don't recognize the name.
I don't know it. Okay, now we're on to our first blue of the day. I think. Oh, no, we're on the Brie de Meaux.
This is the one you've been looking forward to.
This is the one I've been looking forward to, yeah. I've been to Meaux. I went to the place where because Brie, so Meaux famously claims that they created brie for Charlemagne, and when you go out there, they actually have basically a cult around it. It's kind of like the Masons, but for brie.
Cool.
So it's a bunch of dudes in robes, old guys in robes, who literally sing songs about brie to you.
As soon as you enter, they'll throw a creamy brie at your face.
Which is exactly why I went. So I went for a thing. I have a video about it. You can actually go see it on YouTube.
Okay.
Went to the whole thing, and it was really funny. It was way too much, but it definitely stuck with me.
Yeah.
It definitely stuck with me. I do love a good brie. How are you enjoying it over there?
I haven't tried it yet, but
Oh, I thought it. Wow. Just I put it in my mouth and took it out, and I already had the full experience just from that.
all right, we're getting to a higher level here.
Yep. After that last one, this is you're not a big. Well, this is to find out if you're a beginner or not. If you like this, you're at the intermediate stage, I would say. If this is too much for you, stick to what we're calling beginner.
Test the waters with this one to see if you want to go to
This is medium spice.
the blue. Yeah.
Oh, there's a big jump from this to blue, though.
Yeah. Blue is very much an acquired taste, and I mean, usually kids don't like it. It's like what do kids?
What do kids like?
What do kids like? What
Sugar?
I'm trying to compare it to another ingredient that kids don't like. Spinach.
Yeah, sure. Spinach. Well, some kids like but spinach or
It's got a strong flavor.
know,
Maybe they can't handle the
vinegary flavors.
Yeah.
Definitely strong. It's definitely one that
chilies.
you're gonna like this. Your weird uncle will complain.
Unless your weird uncle's in France, and he'll be the one bringing it.
That's true. Actually, he'll be bringing something way weirder. You can also bake a brie. Honey on top, right? Throw it in the oven. That's a good way of softening that. So if you have a brie and you're not sure about it, a baked brie with honey, it's great because it also comes in a little wooden circle that can survive the oven. So,
and some brie are much fresher, and even in terms of taste, will be much lighter. And some of them will have, like truffle.
Yep.
Truffle down the middle.
That's really good.
That's just, that's.
And honestly, I forgot because Brie de Meaux. I forgot the reason I liked it was because it's stronger. I do think this is on the stronger end of brie. So if you get like the commercial brie,
much lighter.
It's gonna be a lot lighter than this.
I was actually expecting when I smelled it, I was like, "Ooh, that's okay."
It was a surprise. Yeah. That's like, oh yeah, that's why I like Brie de Meaux. Gets you going. All right, this blue is a Bleu d'Écosse.
Okay.
Feel free to correct any pronunciation mistakes I make along the way as well.
All right, let's go back and look at every cheese. Then, okay.
Oh man, I love that right off the bat. I would have hated this 10 years ago.
Wow, this with a glass of white wine would be incredible.
Perfect. Like a Chardonnay? What would you pair this with? He's doing some more wine education right now. This dude is a wine buff.
I know, that's actually one of the hardest questions to answer.
Is it really?
Yeah, because this one has a lot of umami flavor. I'm not going to say anything on record right now. Let me think about it. I'll get back to it. Yeah.
If you feel like going on record, feel free.
Definitely, I would go white. I mean, people always think go red with cheese, but for this one, I don't know. For some reason, it's so
because it's crispy.
I would
the flavor.
I would go for an acidic wine.
Yeah.
It's something more acidic than a Chardonnay, I think. Really that is very, very good.
That was so good.
And here in France, you'll find pizzas with bleu. Do you enjoy those?
I don't think I've ever tried one.
Because, obviously pizzas here can get a little funky. Sometimes they'll throw an egg on it or some fries.
The only problem I think, I would want to try one with like a firmer crust because I feel like a Neapolitan pizza that's already falling apart with bleu would be too much. Also,
the four cheeses here is with bleu, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
I never get that. Yeah.
Neither do I. You know what? Maybe next time we should get one of those.
Oh, definitely. That's we also should someday revisit our like international pizza project.
Yes,
that'll be amazing. So this next one, we have so many unfinished projects that are just floating around in our heads. Crottin de Chavignol.
Unfinished, but that will
Coming.
materialize. Yeah.
Did you hear what I said on that one?
Crottin de Chavignol.
Yep.
Okay.
Listen to that. So this guy
is good pronunciation.
This is a lot. Thank you. This is a lot of a lot of mold on the outside of this is what just struck me when I grabbed it. I shouldn't have said that before you ate it, maybe, but like.
No, I don't get freaked out. Actually, I don't think it's a lot, but
it was like a pillow. I don't know. Just when I grabbed, I was like, that's oddly soft. I love that texture.
It's very soft. Like it's almost dry.
Yeah,
But it's
like
soft.
It's like almost to the point that it would crumble, but it doesn't.
Exactly. I was expecting it to crumble a bit, but very good. I've never had this one.
That one would scare most people away, I think. If you're not into blue cheeses or like the idea of mold being a part of the cheese experience. And I'll take this with a grain of salt too, because like I don't know 100% for sure that is mold, but I'm pretty sure it is just from the look and texture of it. But that was such a tame flavor. If somebody were to tell you, I've got a moldy cheese for you, you would have no idea. You would have no idea unless they told you.
Also, if you're freaked out by mold, just don't have cheese at all. Like, just don't be one of those people.
Just don't look into how cheese is made.
If you cheese is cheese, so just coming in with an open mind. But some of them, I mean, these are on the spectrum. They're not even close to like the strongest cheeses you can find.
No,
like there are cheeses that most people, even most French people, will not go near.
Yeah, I think we've already done one or two of those actually.
Yeah.
Is it not Morbier? But what was the one that we did that looks like a brain and that was super strong?
Oh, you told me about this. I forget the name.
No, we did it on a video once at your apartment. Yeah, remember we did 5 stinky cheeses?
Oh, that's I don't remember the name.
I don't remember it either.
Oh yeah, that.
It looked like a moist brain when you took it out, and
we could barely eat that one.
Yeah, it was really strong. That was really strong. I think that one was actually unpleasant all the way through.
Yeah, I'm happy with this. See, so yeah, there are.
You're lucking out. This is
extremes,
unfortunately though for you, chèvre is not in season right now, and Emily keeps going back for seasonal cheeses, which is great, but we're gonna have to start. It's gonna get tricky. We might have to postpone some of the goat cheese moving forward.
Well, I'll be back for those.
Absolutely. So should we do this super melty cheese and then get back to talking about French stuff? I can try to scoop this up for you. You got it? Okay. It's so funny. If a cheese ever comes wrapped tightly in plastic, there are 2 potentialities. One is that it's going to absolutely melt or fall apart when it comes out. 2, it's so stinky that they're double wrapping it to keep it from getting out. So when I opened this, I didn't know what I was getting, and it turned out to be a melty cheese. Very melty cheese.
Yeah.
Very gentle. But what is... You know what I just... What? How would you describe that? There was like a sudden... Like it started out really soft, and then there was a sudden spike on the outside of my tongue. That was like... I would call like bitter, I think.
I think it was acidity as well for me.
Acidity is where I was going to start with it, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, that's...
There's a bit of a bitter aftertaste on this one. I think it comes from the crust. But it's surprisingly fresh also.
Yeah.
I think it's fresh, acidic, but very strong.
I forgot to say what we were eating there. Sorry. That was the Saint Félicien.
Very good.
Funny.
This would go well with a red wine.
That would go really well with a red wine. Could have popped that bottle.
What time is it?
Could have melted with the melting puts. Yeah, exactly. That's really good.
Good stuff.
Okay. I think we're down to just 3 cheeses left, so we should probably hold off on the cheese for just a second.
Yeah.
But feel free to eat some more bread or whatever. Neither of us have had lunch, so I was gonna say you left a little bit of that blue cheese. I was like, what are you doing? I was tempted to take that.
Well, that one's really good. Super salty.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Like just bam, immediately.
Most people, when they come to France and they try that, they're put off, and I can understand. It's like there's some meat dishes as well. Like, have you tried andouillette?
Mm-hmm. I hate andouillette, but I could try it again. Yeah.
Have you tried it on camera yet, or?
I don't know, actually. I was vlogging when I tried it, so probably.
Because that is an acquired taste. I'll be honest with you. I will, if you ever want to do that, if you ever want to film that, I will help you film, but I'm not eating it. I'm not ordering that.
The way I would describe andouillette, as far as flavor goes, is just gray.
I think we need to
imagine eating meat, but you describe it as gray. To me, that describes it. But
interesting.
It's been a long time since I've had it, so I'm definitely down to try it again.
I thought you were gonna go, because you can say a lot of things about.
You can say a lot of things about it. But
you know what? Let's save that for.
We should make a video like the grossest French food, and try it. The thing is with this, the reason that I like this, I was thinking about it a minute ago, is it's the same evolution that I've had with spice, and it also misses. It hits something that I miss here, which is strong flavors.
Yeah.
So that for me, this has become a thing that it's salty. The flavor is really strong, and there's something about tolerance involved in it that's like building up a spice tolerance. Where I'm like, oh, I like this.
Yeah. For a long time, I wouldn't eat this as a teenager.
Yeah.
I would stay away from it. And now when I see them, I'm like, oh,
I want to try it. Yeah.
It's always the one I tried last.
Well, it's like spicy food. It's like you develop a healthy fear of it when you're young, and then you have to like come back into it.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, you always love spice. Some of us were born very white and very far from the rest of the world.
A very unhealthy relationship is like I have to have it, and I can't.
Were you always into spice ever since you were little?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember, my uncle used to, who doesn't eat spices anymore, doesn't eat chilies anymore. When I say spice, I mean like the heat. I don't mean spices, because that's a whole different thing in France, that they don't know how to differentiate between hot and spice, which is very different in my book. But the heat part of it, I had an uncle who used to always, we'd have chilies on the side, and we'd always fight for it. And since I was a kid, I remember.
This is actually a total side note, but a reminder. We need to do the Hot Ones challenge again.
Oh yeah.
And I need to order the sauce kit. My dad's coming to France not too long, and he can bring it for me. So, but the only problem is if anybody out there knows how to get the original Da Bomb sauce, apparently they don't have the original sauce anymore in the kit. Like they've got the Bomb like evolved or evolution, which is supposed to be more palatable but isn't as strong.
Slightly watered down, I heard.
Yeah. Well, I think didn't you try both?
I tried both. I mean,
by the time we got to the Bomb, though, we were so hyped up already. It wasn't as powerful.
The Bomb was the best one there, but I'd like to do it again because I was a little disappointed on the heat level.
I kind of feel like what we'll do if we do, because I want to do it as like a live stream anyways. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. And I think what we should do, at least for you, I do this with you, but is start with the Bomb fresh, flat, so that you get the full kick. Because I feel like we built up to it, and that's not as strong.
But anything you do after that, if it's lower, you're not going to really enjoy it.
That's true.
It's like cheeses also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to go crescendo, right? So,
yeah.
But there's definitely ways of coating it to get more of it.
We'll do it much more thoroughly.
Maybe we'll get Matt to make some gourmet
We should
chicken
get
wings.
Matt to make some chicken wings, actually. They would be delicious. Matt, who's the last guest or 2 guests ago on here, phenomenal cook. He's not only like a brilliant mind, but he's a really good cook. So that's a really good idea. See if you can wrangle him to do that.
Yeah, I just volunteered him.
You did just volunteer him. I love it. It's perfect. So like, I guess for me, we can make a little transition here as well in the conversation towards, because Matt is actually helping with, that was a terrible segue, but Matt's helping with the app a little bit right now. And for those of you listening, I think just to kind of give a quick little update there, the whole idea right now for us is to get the PDF, which the vast majority of people that have bought it, as far as their surveys and stuff go, are very happy with it. And it's like, how do we improve on this? And making it more accessible through something like a web app to start, and then we'll see where that goes, is the way that we're going about it. So we're doing a lot of testing and a lot of trying to figure out, like, how do we make this work? And then we're going to come to you and hopefully find that it does and that it's very good. But my hope is to spend basically the rest of this year focused on just working on developing and improving that to make it the best possible travel companion that we could have.
Except for Cooper. He's a pretty good travel companion. It's very true. It's really true. With you, like in all the traveling that you've done, because you've been everywhere, you've been to a lot of places. There's so many places that I haven't been to.
That's true. Well, that just means you're aware of how many places you've been in a way. Maybe not.
Fair.
But I mean, you've been all over the world, and your career has been very up to this point. Would you say that it's been? I want to ask you how much the division has been between travel and food in the focus of your photography, but then also how that's informed both, because Puxan's very good at finding places that are good to eat. I think it's just a talent that he's developed. So all I'm trying to get around to here is definitely answer the question of before I speak for you as to what your career has been. You can let us know where you feel that balance is. But then is it through that experience, or like how have you gone about honing your skills on finding good places to eat when you're traveling, and how much energy does that take?
It takes a lot of research.
Yeah, you put in a lot.
I mean, I don't know, not a lot. It's just that I know what I want, so it's very targeted searches, right? So I know I want good wine, I know I want good food, and usually they go hand in hand. I mean, a lot of it is, word of mouth. Also, obviously, a lot of we live in a in a world of like information, and you're getting bombarded with like top 10 places in all these countries. So sometimes it lines up, and if I'm planning a trip to Barcelona and I see all these articles go by with best places to get natural wine in Barcelona, then Google Maps is my friend. I do that, and then usually what I do is I'll try one of them, and when I get to the city, then I'll talk to the staff, and they will be like, if I like their spot, they're gonna tell me where else to go.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I have 50, 60 places that I want to go to, and I end up going to maybe 3 or 4. And sometimes on repeat. Sometimes you discover. I love to just walk around, not only get my 10,000 steps when I'm traveling, but also just to take photos. I know a lot of people like to bike around, but for me, biking it's fun if I don't have my camera, because then it's just not as easy to stop for me and enjoy the moment. And walking around, you find a lot of cool places, and a lot of the times places that are not in those guides that what I feel about them, like this whole Insta phase, and media kind of recreating these top 10 lists and kind of recycling them. It's just, for me, it's utter bullshit, and it's it's a lot of just being friendly with the media and to get your name in there. But anyway, not to say they're bad spots. It's just that there's so much outside of that, off the beaten path, right? That is worth. And sometimes you don't find it, and sometimes you find like divey places. And I mean, maybe it's not your thing because it's not, it won't look good on your fucking Instagram page, and but the experience you get there is, I don't know. And sometimes you go in there, it looks great, and then it won't turn out. So it's kind of,
you take your risks.
Yeah, you got to take a risk. We had that in India recently, where we went into a little dive bar, and
that's right,
really unassuming. No one really knew what it was from the outside, and it was actually really cool. And sometimes you'll go in there and it'll try too hard, so you never know. But to answer your question, usually a bit of research, and then mostly talking to the people who live there, because a lot of times the staff that that work in the places that I go to are not from that place, so they also have that kind of urge to explore.
Yeah.
And obviously if you get a local, then you'll get a different vibe. You'll get the more local stuff, the traditional stuff, which maybe I didn't get in my research because you don't have time to look at all the.
Yeah, and that's not the stuff that makes it onto the Google Maps or into the blog post written by expats or people that are moving in from somewhere else either, right?
Right. Yeah. And in terms of like what proportion of my work is travel and food, I think it's been pretty even until COVID, and since COVID it's been more food. But I think it's gonna get back to more travel. But it's hard to do travel without food, right? Like, what's the first thing you think of if you're planning a trip to Rome? It's like, oh, where am I gonna get the best food, right? So it's like I don't just do landscape when I travel. It's mostly you get a nice snapshot of the city, details, people, and food and drinks is always there. Can't get away from it.
That's the first thing I'm thinking of.
From an old fat kid, like that's all I think about.
Food, good coffee, good spot to get a drink.
Coffee is also one of those that.
Coffee's a good leader too, because I feel like it's kind of like wine. I feel like also it's a good trick that you've used. Like when we went to Barcelona, it's not just good wine, but it's like specific types of wine, right? Like you're looking for particular subcultures almost that then you just know are going to align better with your tastes. And it is a great trick. Like asking people, it's amazing how many good recommendations you get really quickly just by buddying up to, whoever's running the place.
And sometimes they can tell you, oh, the one you had there is, maybe don't go there. Unless, everything else is closed.
They'll let you know. Yeah, that place is just for Instagram.
But also coffee, like you mentioned coffee, like I like having, why do you have 100 places when you're just there for a weekend? It's because what if your Airbnb or your hotel's in one spot and it takes, an hour to get to the next, to where your stars are on Google Maps. It's always good to have to walk around and be able to stop for wine, coffee, or craft beer if you're into craft beer, because that's a big thing. Also cocktails, ice cream, cookies, whatever, to have all the options, right? So I don't like to stop and think and research this is what I got to do, which is why what you're doing with your guide is great, because then you've done the work for them, it's curated, so go buy Jay's guide.
Please do. But I think that's going to be the fun thing. Like what we're not going to be able to do the geolocation stuff I want to, because we're just testing the basic version on a web app. But when we get to that stage where we can do geolocation stuff, will be exactly that, where it's like
seamless.
Yeah, and that thing where you're like, well, I'm here, I just want to look. And instead of, also one of the main problems I see with all these travel apps that I've used or that I've tried, like Mapster even, that I do use with my patrons, is it's just overwhelming, like because you see everything at once. And so instead I'd rather, and my goal is like, I just want to hit a button that says I'm hungry, and then shows me 3 options nearby. And then if those don't appeal, then I can look at more, but it also just says, well, these are all within a few minutes walk or 10 minutes walk. Go for that. And then it's always with you, so that if you end up, there are some places harder to do than others, like the 14th. I'm going to have to go do a little more research, but like it's there. And then if you can find it and then help people to just cut out the thinking, like you're saying, and just go for it. I think that's important. But I think, like, I guess for me, it's the same kind of thing. Like with my guide here, and my style is kind of the opposite. Like I think this is partially to do with my daily vlogging brain, but I never did research before I traveled. I basically got myself there. I had a place to sleep, and then I was going to figure it out when I got there. And that's kind of the same way that I operated when I moved here. And so everything in my guide is like, because I stumbled on it for the most part, there's like probably 10% to 20% that has grown over the years because people did recommend it to me. But it's like that Sando that I stumbled into when I was making the ChatGPT video, and I was like, I don't want to eat at this place. These guys are jerks. And I was like, well, that Japanese place looks pretty cool. And I went over there and just like checked it out, and it ended up being amazing.
Are they in your guide? Because you just called them jerks.
They are not in my guide.
Okay.
There's a place next door to them that's in my guide, but they're not in my guide.
No, that's the thing. I mean, there's so many options, and every day there's more restaurants opening. And it's not just a Paris thing. Everywhere in the world, people love opening restaurants.
Yeah.
Like there's more. I think we just keep getting more and more restaurants. We've never had this many
I
restaurants.
hope it just keeps going.
So the options are endless.
Well, and then the place is closed, so it's like, that's kind of the cool thing about doing this in an app instead of in a guide too, is like the PDF, I was only updating once a year. And even in updating this one, it's probably going to go out with some mistakes in it, because I just noticed, hopefully we can still edit this before we send it out, but there's like a place that closed. Like between having verified it a couple months ago and then like now it's closed. And then I've found a couple places that I'd love to add. But so the nice thing about having the app is going to literally be that when I walk up to a place, I'm like, oh, it's closed now. Or I find out it's closed, then I just go in and I delete it. I remove it, and then it's gone. And then if I find a new place, I can add it, which is what I tend to do with Mapster. I definitely add in Mapster. I never remove from Mapster because it's overwhelming. Again, I don't know how to go through and find everything in Mapster. So just having that tool to be able to do that and to share that for here, and then hopefully in the future we can go to other cities as well and kind of slowly build up the same thing for people if they like it. I think that's kind of the hope for me, is like, I don't have to, what I'm building, doesn't have to appeal to everyone. It just needs to find its audience, like the people that like to do what we do. Like they're going to go find
for sure
natural wine, craft beer, specialty coffee, like whatever tapas you're looking for.
There's restaurants for everyone. There's all levels. So yeah, I think if you like, I think we have a good spread. But if you're into like high end caviar every day, you definitely it's a different.
Might be a different one, yeah. Or if you want to go to Cafe de Flore, it's there. Literally everybody knows about it. So
what's that?
It's that thing. Well, it's the same thing with like that. Like ChatGPT sent me to this place that is popular, and I could have gone, but it is that thing where too, like there are some places that I include that are you'll find anywhere, I think, that are popular, but also worth it in my mind. And then there's a lot of places that I'm just happy to skip on.
Because they're popular for a reason, right?
Yeah. Not always. That's the thing. Sometimes they are. Sometimes not so much. Yeah. 100,000 Elvis fans can't be wrong, right?
But if you do want to go to Café de Flore, for sure.
Go for it. Yeah, give it a try.
It's beautiful, and you'll have great Parisian-looking photos for sure.
You will, and the service staff were so nice, actually.
Yeah, it's changed over the years for sure.
I think the whole service here is still service here, but I was impressed. I actually was like, these guys are really nice. It's not my vibe for a place. Like I didn't feel particularly comfortable. It was very crammed, but like the fact that I spent like 10 or 11 euros for an espresso and a croissant,
solid.
It's a little bit much, but
which are the prices in New York?
Listen, if you're looking for the experience, yeah, exactly. If you're looking for the experience, you're going to get the experience. Should we get back into this?
Yeah. What's the next one?
I think it's the pyramid is next. Yeah.
Pyramid.
The Valence. I was going to say earlier that with like, it's funny because having had to take a test for my French recently, and then doing like the little language learning thing I did with Italki, and thank you. Great. He's putting. If you can't see this if you're not watching this, Puxan is being kind and loading up a piece of bread with some cheese for me. That works.
Wait, hold on. There's some of the fresh cheese here.
This is the thing for me where it's like I feel like my pronunciation in French is mostly bad habits because I have the ability to pronounce. I'm pretty sure every sound in the French language, maybe not to every accent, but do I? No.
Wait, do you have a bad accent?
I don't have a bad accent.
What's your question?
No. I'm just highlighting the fact that
Sorry,
in all this talk about like having to make sure that my language is a certain level to get citizenship, and I'm in a place now where I'm very, very comfortable with my French. Like I'll never be at the same level as my English, but like it doesn't stress me. No situation where I have to speak French stresses me out. It's just another language for me now.
Which is great. Yeah.
Which is wonderful. But the funny thing is then accent wise, like I do not sound French. I don't sound American, but I also sound maybe Anglophone, maybe German. Somebody called me Swedish the other day. So it's that thing where it's like, this is the question. Feel free to go ahead on the cheese there, and I'll follow suit. I guess the question is, how valuable is it to get my French to sound French? Or is it something that I should even worry about as I become French? This cheese is instantly in my nose, by the way.
Really good cheese, by the way. Kind of reminds me of chèvre.
Yeah, it might be.
It is chèvre. So, do you need to sound French? I don't know. I think that's a very subjective question. For me, I've come across all types of. I don't want to keep saying Anglophones because it's expats that have learned French, and some of them just don't even try to to change their accent, but they have a mastery of the language, and some of them are really good at mimicking accents, but have a more limited vocabulary. So I think for me, as long as you can speak to everyone and be heard and understood, I think it's okay. You're never gonna have. You could. I think you could do it, but you would have to. I think you'd have to get English out of your mind and immerse yourself maybe for like a few years.
Yeah.
And then your accent, would start shifting. I think. Who knows? I mean, there's probably people that have studied this, and they would say I'm completely wrong. Or, but I think for you, as long as you understand the cultural situations and references and
that's hard.
But on a day-to-day,
yeah. But you've been there for me missing some pretty
it's hilarious for me. So I don't want that to stop.
Smiling and nodding, and you're like, "Did you understand that?" I'm like, "No."
But also, you should probably keep a little bit of the American accent just to get out of certain weird situations.
I do get out of a lot of trouble. Yeah,
be like, "Oh, sorry," or you've started just kind of saying sorry in English
occasionally.
Like,
yeah,
if because that's a get out of jail for free card.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak your language.
I thought this dumb was free.
What do you mean? I thought this was a socialist country. Isn't everything free?
So no, I don't think you need to. I don't think you. But it's always better, obviously. But sometimes if you sound too good in a language, then people will expect you to be more fluent.
Yeah,
I don't know, because I've had that situation in Spain when if I say only a few words, people think I'm from there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, da, 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 and then it's like, okay, let me slow this down.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think it's as long as they understand you, you understand them.
That's the main goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm just putting my brain power towards other things right now. And
you passed your test, right?
Yeah, easily. I mean, that was
checked off the list, man.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Eat all the cheeses. That's the next list.
That is on. That's what we're working on right now. May I serve you some more? I think it's Roquefort.
This does look like Roquefort, yeah.
Roquefort. I could definitely keep working on it. I think. It's good. When I got a little taste of this earlier, and this is also a little bit softer than the last one. This one's definitely more palatable for the blue beginners.
And if you like salty cheese, is this for you?
Oh, it's for me.
I mean, blue cheese does exist in the U.S. as well, right?
Yeah, it exists. It's a famous dressing for salad.
It's in a different form, but it's from the same cheese, right? Mm-hmm. I just don't see people eating it in this form in the States that much, but they eat
I mean, it happens.
the creamy sauce.
I didn't grow up in such classy circles, so the blue cheese is a rarity, I think, and I never touched it.
Okay. I've never seen it over there.
I feel like I've definitely seen it, but it's rare. When people talk about blue cheese, they're usually referring to the dressing that you put on.
Which is awesome, by the way. I don't think we should be snobs about food because, first of all, there's good cheeses everywhere in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And I
miss ranch, too.
That's the sauce. Blue cheese is the sauce that's used with like chicken wings, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
It's delicious. Oh. Just like ranch or buffalo. Oh, the States. There's plenty to miss and love about the States.
Oh, my friends back in college, like they'd live across the street. They would bring back like a gallon of ranch every time they go back. And obviously, we'd steal it from them. We'd bring our Tupperware. It got messy, but
I don't even know what I would eat. I mean, I guess I could keep it here for when I order in fries or something. But
you could eat ranch with a lot of stuff.
You can eat with a lot of stuff.
If you have a gallon of it, you'll start eating a lot of things.
It's really true. I really love the fresh like ranch dips as well that are extra thick. Those are really good. Our last cheese on the menu here is Salé Vieux Tunnel. Celler? Is that Celler Vieux Tunnel?
It's Celler, yeah.
Yeah, Celler Vieux Tunnel. Give this a try. Nice hard cheese. It looks like a Parmesan, but it's way softer than I expected.
It's got some buttery flavors and very salty, once again.
Yeah. Not blue salty, but definitely salty.
No, yeah.
It's another one that's like on the verge of crumbling, but it's just a level too soft. But it looks like it would crumble when you look at it. It really looks like a Parmesan.
It's a similar method. It's a similar cheese, definitely. Yeah. It's good.
It's nice. This one's got more of that farmy taste to it. I taste the barnyard in this one a little bit more.
You can taste the hay.
Yep, you can taste the hay.
Yeah, it's true. You like it's in the milk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you know.
That's how you know it's good.
The animal was fed well. It's probably a cow cheese. Isn't it?
I'm guessing. Yeah, I definitely guess that's good.
Should have done some research before spitting out.
It's funny because I used to. On the first one, I had like all my I could tell you exactly where it came from, whatever else, and then we've just been like, everything's been so last minute lately. Emily's been kind enough, and it's also what can you get. So Emily's just getting off the list what she can check off, and trying to keep it fairly varied. So yeah, we're just going into it blind, which is kind of fun.
That's great. What's your favorite
out of this?
Yeah, today.
I think it has to be the blue. That was amazing.
Yeah, me too.
That was so good. There's more too, so once we stop recording, we don't have to stop here, which is good because I'm still hungry.
Well, I am lactose intolerant.
Oh, maybe we should stop here.
This for me is a lot of cheese, so, but worth it.
Totally worth it. Yeah. Thank you for sacrificing tomorrow for me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I do it for the country.
Do it for the country. Do it for the pride.
That's one of the things you'll have to do once you're French. You have to overeat cheese every day.
I'm here for it. This is the service, the civil service. I'm ready and willing to render. Thanks for coming on, Puxan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the cheese and
absolutely. Also, if there's anyone listening who's into F1 and already into podcasts, obviously, where can they find the best F1 podcast?
Oh, it is the best, and it's it's basically my buddy Ryan Knowles and I. We are two big F1 fans, and we'd like to commentate from our armchairs, and we'd like to give the best drivers in the world advice. So you can find us at the Grandstand F1 on Spotify or whatever platform you use. And if you don't find it there, let me know, because that means that my co-host is not doing a good job at putting it out there. So
a little bit of the spice you can expect,
or just that our system is flawed. So yeah, let me know at the Grandstand F1.
The Grandstand F1. They honestly, because I'm not into F1. I enjoyed Drive to Survive at first, and I'm not as into it. However, sitting and listening to these guys talk about it is always really entertaining, and I've learned a lot. And that's the benefit of having friends that are super into F1 to the level that they can have an authoritative podcast. It's impressive. So go give them a listen. And yeah, thanks for listening. More updates to come. Do keep an eye out on Patreon. I think we're just waiting for a form to be finished, but we'll do a little form for beta testing. If that interests you, we'll definitely be asking you for a lot of feedback. So only if you're at this point the closed beta. I mean, you can sign up anyways if you're not that interested in that part, but you want to get in on the beta when it's more open. We can also let you know about that. But it's exciting. We're looking forward to getting it out there and trying it out and seeing how it goes. So keep an eye on that. Thanks for listening. And yeah, see you here again in 2 weeks for another episode of Garage Monologues. And it'll actually be a monologue next time.